And do you think pharma is doing a good job at, kind of changing the paradigm and focusing on the patient? I mean, patient centricity has been, buzzword for many, many years now. When you look at the organization of most pharma companies, they haven't really changed, right?
I agree.
I mean, it's more than just doing some patient services or patient programs, right? It's really almost like rethinking pharma altogether, right?
Absolutely.
And where the patient is at the center of the entire organization.
Correct.
And I feel like there's a little bit of way to go, no?
I agree, and I always challenge my organization because we always say that we're patient-centric, and I agree. I don't think we are patient-centric in the true sense of the word, right? And how I view it is, what is important to patients? For me, what's important is me being the best mom I can be, right? Or best wife and best sister and being productive at work. But those are things that are not included in clinical trials. But that's, as a person, right, living with this disease, that's what's important to me. And so I think that we have to start to study those kind of things, right? Because we are the ones that are taking these medications, and the better that, again, we have data that is, again, more that resonates with us, I think the better that we'll be more adherent and, again, empowered.
Of course. It's kind of almost like rethinking, clinical trials together, right? I mean, the endpoint is no longer that little thing. It's really, can I have my life back, basically? That's the endpoint, right?
When I think there's a partnership between patients and clinical trial program. And I think that I'd like to see the pharma industry move to where patients are engaged like a patient steering committee instead of investigators, that patients are advising along the whole clinical trial program.
Yeah.
And that,
sounds like a great idea.
And I mean, because then you get better retention, right, in your studies. You also potentially will have endpoints or outcomes that are more important, or that resonate with patients as well. And those then are included in your label, right? And then you're able to speak about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Are you doing this? Is Biogen already looking at patient steering committee?
Bits and pieces we've started. I think that there's more that we can do, and I hope that, again, we can move in that direction.
That's very interesting. And what about once the trial, start? I mean, how the patient can be more engaged than currently? I mean, right now the patient is very passive, right? They have to go to the center, get the treatment, report. That's it, right? I mean, how to really, change the clinical trial? I mean, the engagement of the patient while in a trial.
So when I think my thoughts are, if you do that, when you design the protocol, either the company should have to go through what the protocol or the patient does prior to starting, so that you can really understand, right, the burden on the patient. Because we as healthcare providers may think that it's not that cumbersome, but when you have to do an MRI, you have to go get labs, you have to then go see the assessing physician, the treating physician. It's a lot on a patient. And so I think the people who design the studies should have to go through it to understand what it's like to be a patient in the clinical trial. And I think you might be able to, if you do include patients, you might be able to, again, design a study that's more meaningful and shorter, and helps with, again, the retention piece.
Totally.
So I think
it starts with design, And beyond the design, once the trial has already started, I mean, have you seen any startup, any new players that are kind of trying to, fix the, better engage the patient through the trial?
Some companies are starting to do that. Again, I think more need to, and I think diseases like ALS, when you guys think about, if there is another product that you're going to bring to market, to think about that in engaging patients along the continuum of the clinical trial program, because I think you'll be more successful in doing that, and speak not only to providers but to patients as well.
Totally.
Because patients are becoming consumers of healthcare.
Of course.
Right.
They are consumers.
Yeah. And I think just even when you get results of whether it's phase 2 trial or phase 3, ask the patient what they think about it. Right. Those the results, and does it really resonate with the patient?
I mean, the clinical trial space, I mean, has been pretty nicely firewalled, right, from marketing and commercial and organization. You think that's maybe the reason why it's not so disconnected, and we don't think about it as totally a continuum from clinical trial design to engagement of the patient and leveraging the data that we're capturing to actually inform what we're going to do in a commercial phase?
Yes, we're in silos, right?
We're called in silos.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to think of healthcare as, healthcare with no walls.
Yeah.
Right, and that we're all here to try to, again, improve the care of all patients, right,
Yeah.
and outcomes. So if we can, it means just coming to the table, right, and then for all of us to share our ideas and how we're going to try to advance towards that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that exists within our own companies as well, where R&D, right, it's just about getting a drug to market as soon as possible without thinking about how commercial and medical then have to sell the product.
Yeah, exactly.